Look, I know I'm late to this one, I know, but we finally have our first official trailer for Daredevil Born Again, and I've got to say, it looks pretty good. Now, I love Netflix's Daredevil. Like, honestly, one of my favorite shows of all time. It's phenomenal. The first season is perfection. Season 2, first half of it is perfection. The second half is a little messy, but it's still great. Season 3 is awesome. This show is incredible, and Charlie Cox, I'm gonna say it, is one of the best comic book castings. He might even be my favorite comic book casting. Like him, Ryan Reynolds, Andrew Garfield, Hugh Jackman, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr. kind of like, the thing I'll say is that Robert Downey Jr. is great as Tony Stark, but as his Tony Stark, he's not like a comic accurate Tony Stark. But even still, when we talk about the best comic book castings, he's up there with Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and Andrew Garfield. Charlie Cox is the like perfect iteration of Matt Murdock. He is phenomenal. His performance is incredible. I mean, some of his acting moments from season 1 of Daredevil alone, just, I mean, that confessional scene, that opening, scene to episode 1 of the Netflix show, mwah. Not to mention too that when you watch the trailer, it feels like Daredevil season 4 kind of, but it also feels like its own new and separate thing. That I think is one of the fears that was kind of quelled when watching this, was that this is technically Daredevil season 4. It's not the originally planned Daredevil season 4, but it feels like Daredevil season 4, but now it's like in the MCU. And we'll talk about the specifics as we get into the trailer. But before we get into the trailer reaction and breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, specifically Instagram and TikTok. I'm an actor and filmmaker myself, so check out my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of VF Manar. Before we get into the video, I just want to quickly plug my latest short film, The Shining Optimism of E.F. Manar. Keep the spark alive. As dreamer and optimist E.F. Manar must find a way to keep his hopes and passions alive in a cynical world. Inspired by Wonka and The Greatest Showman, a lot of time, effort, love, and passion was put into this project, so I would really appreciate it if you guys could give it a watch. The film is linked down below in the description, and it's also on the homepage of my YouTube channel. I hope you guys watch it and really enjoy it. Anyways, back to the video. And yeah, I think that's it. So without further ado, let's get into the trailer breakdown for Daredevil season... Nope. Daredevil Born Again. I mean, it technically is Daredevil season 4.
Thank you for finding the time.
Okay, so right off the bat, the very first thing that sets this apart from the original Netflix Daredevil is the cinematography. The lighting, the color grading, and the cinematography from this trailer really is evocative of the MCU. No longer is there contrast, no longer do we get the neo-noir type of lighting. It doesn't look like the Netflix show, but it's trying to feel like the Netflix show. As seen with Marvel's color grading, they don't like making their blacks black. Their black values are not truly black. I mean, to be fair, I say Marvel, it's also a modern movie problem as well. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that cinematographically, it feels like the MCU. And I'm not saying that's entirely a bad thing. It's just that there are some personal tweaks that I would make to make the colors like pop more and the lighting pop more.
Thank you for finding the time. Thank you for finding the time.
Especially when you compare it to the striking lighting and contrast and color grading from the original Daredevil show.
I will admit, it's not entirely unpleasant seeing you again.
I won't lie, seeing Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk meeting in a diner, talking to one another civilly, I'm so curious to see how they ended up here. If this is meant to be a continuation from Netflix's Daredevil, how do we go from George Page or Foggy Nelson ever again? I will go after your wife. To, hey, what's up, man? Yeah, we're just, hanging out in a diner. Story-wise, that I am curious to see. Like, how did we get here?
By the look of it, you've come up in the world.
So they show us Karen, Matt, and Foggy all together, and it's just so great to see them all together. The thing that I'm very terrified about is that they're gonna kill off Karen and Foggy very quickly, which apparently was like a thing with this original show, because remember too, Daredevil Born Again, they reshot a bunch of this. They changed showrunner. They realized halfway through production that the direction they were going in didn't feel like what they wanted it to feel like. They knew that fans weren't gonna like this, and so they scrapped it, and then they restarted it, or at least they got elements from what they originally shot and tried to implement it into this show. And one of the rumored things was that Karen and Foggy were killed off in the very beginning of that show, so I'm really hoping that that hasn't lingered around and Karen and Foggy are gonna die, because I mean, look at them, they look so happy and just... Please don't. Don't get me wrong, I was expecting Karen to die in Daredevil season 3, but she didn't, so now I kind of do just want like another full season of Matt, Karen, and Foggy working together, Nelson, Murdock, and Paige. Then again, too, from what it's been reported, this is no longer a 18-episode series. It's now a 9-episode series, and they're going to shoot the second half this year.
The mayor serves his city. I can see you're not entirely convinced.
So Mayor Wilson Fisk is an element they're going to introduce into this show, and I'm curious to see how that plays out. Because the rumor mill constantly spins. Apparently the original concept for Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4, which is going to be shooting soon. Apparently that was meant to be a Spider-Man Daredevil team up where they were going to take down Kingpin, who had now just become the mayor. And apparently this show and that Spider-Man film was supposed to open up the street side of Marvel. We were going to get the return of Iron Fist and Punisher and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. And that may be still happening. I don't know. I don't know what Sony's doing. I don't know what Marvel is doing right now. You know, what with the announcement of Robert Downey Jr. returning as Doctor Doom and such, like, I got no clue what the MCU is doing right now. All I know is that they're building up to Secret Wars, and they're gonna go from there.
I can't shake the feeling that you're gaming the system.
One thing I will say about this conversation is that tone-wise, it feels very Netflix Daredevil. But then again, that is also because Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are sharing the screen together, and they both feel like they're characters from that show. And I actually do think that's kind of funny considering how Vincent D'Onofrio in the MCU so far, his Kingpin is kind of like all over the place. Like, he went from running an underground crime syndicate from a taxi service to him doing whatever the hell he was doing in Echo. Like, his material in the MCU is like all over the place, but D'Onofrio plays it like he's playing Netflix Kingpin. And hopefully in this show we get to see him in his proper context in the Netflix universe, or at least, you know, akin to the flavor of the Netflix universe, where he actually gets to play the Wilson Fisk we know and love and not a pale imitation.
Why did you stop being a vigilante?
The line was crossed.
Again, this trailer sets up interesting story ideas that Matt Murdock has not been Daredevil for a while. Why? Who knows? They're probably going to explain it in the show, but that will be interesting. I'm assuming he almost killed someone. But again, I don't know. The trailer leaves it quite open-ended. So Wilson Bethel returns as Poindexter. That's really cool. There have been like set photos of the Poindexter outfit, the Bullseye. There we go. Bullseye. There have been set photos and videos of Daredevil fighting Bullseye in costume, and that's something I do want to say. I'm not in love so far with the costumes for this show. Like, the new Daredevil outfit is the Netflix costume, but with a weird texture on it. Same thing with the Bullseye outfit, actually. I don't know, I just wish there was a little bit more comic booky, or more so like modern, tactically comic booky. Like, you know, the MCU is normally really good at, you know, translating the comic book art to screen, these costumes to the big screen. I'm just surprised that the Daredevil costume isn't kind of like this. Maybe we'll get there, but so far I'm not in love with the new costume for this show. Okay, so this shot of Matt entering a church is going to be interesting because, one, we don't have Father Lansom anymore, so how are we going to have any of those amazing, you know, religiously motivated conversations of dialogue? How are we going to get them now? There's no sign of Matt's mum in this trailer, so I don't really know if we're going to get them. And two, I don't know how deeply this show is going to delve into Matt Murdock's religion, his Catholic guilt and such, because there's not really too much pinpointed in the trailer. But then again too, this is just a trailer. I do hope that his Catholicism actually plays into his character like it did in the Netflix show, and this isn't just like, you know, lip service, very quick and cheap and easy. Oh, see, Matt's in church because he's Catholic. I want his faith to actually mean something to him personally, like it did in the Netflix show. Also, I'm noticing this too, there is a lot of Matt Murdock in this trailer. Like, there's not a lot of Daredevil in costume. Like, it's a lot of, you know, Charlie Cox walking around in a suit. Are we going to get a lot of Daredevil action? Because apparently that was something too. In the original version of the show, there was barely any Daredevil in costume. It was just a lot of Matt Murdock, so I wonder how much of that original show is left over. Also, we see a lot of the new villain Muse in this trailer, and I won't lie, I don't know anything about Muse. Most of my Daredevil comic knowledge comes from the Frank Miller comics and the Brian Michael Bendis stuff, so I don't really know who Muse is. It's also nice too to see the return of Ayla Zura as Vanessa, because again too, with the original version of the show, they recast Vanessa. Why? I don't really know. And speaking of seeing people return, the return of John Bernthal as Frank Castle is cool, don't get me wrong, but there's something to it. Just, I have this gut feeling that he is not going to be the Punisher at the start of the show, and then, you know, he's going to do the thing he always did in the Netflix series, which was, I'm going to be the Punisher. No, I'm no longer the Punisher, but I'm the Punisher. That was one of the things that really annoyed me about Netflix Punisher, was how he just kept like, you're stopping and starting being the Punisher. Like, how hard is it just to have him be the Punisher? Like, we don't have to keep doing this thing of like, I'm the Punisher. No, I'm not the Punisher. I am the Punisher. Because the whole of Daredevil season 2 is him becoming the Punisher. And then the whole of Punisher season 1 was him going, no, I'm not the Punisher. But actually, no, I am the Punisher. And then rinse or repeat for Punisher season 2. Also, funny thing about John Bernthal's look as like homeless Frank Castle was that this is basically just his look as, you know, Mikey from The Bear. And then when The Bear season 3 was filming, they were also filming Daredevil Born Again, and so, you know, John Bernthal cut his hair to look like Frank Castle, and then in The Bear, he now looks like Frank Castle. I don't know, just a random side note, I just thought it was funny.
I was raised to believe in grace, but I was also raised to believe in retribution.
Okay, first of all, that line is incredibly cold, and second of all, it's cool that we get to see a glimpse of all the different Daredevil helmets that are, you know, referencing all the different Daredevil costumes. We got the silver one, which represents the 90s one. We get the classic Daredevil Netflix one, we get the She-Hulk one, we get the black one, which is the Shadowland, and then we get the new one. So I'm curious, are we gonna get one Daredevil costume in this show, or are we gonna get multiple? And we get very quick glimpses of Matt Murdock in action in the Daredevil costume, and I won't lie, there's something about it where, like, it's the Netflix costume, but it's more like puffy. Like, it's still relatively the same, so I'm not mad at it. I don't dislike it, but even still, I don't love it. Then again, it is better than the season 1 costume because I don't know what they were doing with that season 1 costume. Like, for some reason, that costume was purple. A cool detail too, actually, is that the organ music playing at the end is the Netflix Daredevil theme, which then I'm hoping that they keep the Daredevil Netflix theme, but also too, I know for a fact that they're going to change the intro because this isn't, you know, Daredevil, it's Daredevil Born Again. And also too, I don't really expect the Born Again storyline to actually play an impact into the show because they pretty much did it in season 3. That was what was weird about season 3, was like, they did Born Again, but they didn't do Born Again. But I don't know, part of me hopes that they keep the Netflix Daredevil opening, but they probably won't. They'll revamp it and make a new intro. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Daredevil Born Again trailer. There are like interesting story ideas, and there's definitely like an MCU-ification of this Daredevil, but at the same time too, I'm looking forward to it. The elements that they have on screen could be great. But then again too, this trailer isn't very story heavy, it just presents a bunch of ideas that we'll obviously find out in the show. Why ain't him and Kingpin on somewhat relatively normal terms? I don't know, we'll find out when we watch the show. How is Bullseye and Muse and Punisher gonna play into all this? I don't know, we'll find out when we, you know, watch the show. One thing I will say though is that this trailer didn't get me like, you know, hyped up like, yes, Daredevil season 4. I mean, this isn't Daredevil. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like this trailer got me hyped up in the way that the Netflix trailers did. You know, the trailers for those Netflix seasons were mwah. But at the same time too, I am very, very, very cautiously optimistic for this. I'm very excited because, look, the MCU stuff has not been doing it for me, but then again too, this is Charlie Cox, this is, you know, Vincent D'Onofrio. This is the Daredevil team, or at least the Netflix team. The new showrunner is the same one that did Punisher season 2, 1. So I am cautiously optimistic because, again, I'm a Daredevil fan. I love Daredevil. Seeing my boy Charlie Cox and my boy Vincent D'Onofrio back again, Deb Brown-Wall, Eldon Henson, seeing them all back, hell yeah. You know, hearing Charlie Cox talk about Daredevil and stuff, like, it's all really great stuff to see. And I hope that this is the start of a very bright future for Daredevil in the MCU, but only time will tell. Will we get the return of the rest of the Defenders? Who knows? And again though, I'm being cautiously optimistic because again too, the story could suck, the writing could suck, but so far from this trailer, seems pretty good. But those are my thoughts on the trailer for Daredevil Born Again. What did you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, all the good stuff. Until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.